All right there, everyone. According to the latest Gallup poll, the Democratic Party is shrinking as there are fewer Democrats today than when Trump was elected in 2016. That's what we'll be talking about on today's video. We're going to be looking at why that is. Why is it that not only are the liberal Democrats actually shrinking, but we're going to look at why conservative Republicans are growing? The answer in just a moment. But first, I am so excited to share this amazing device from Coach Jimmy K over at Denos Pain Relief Store. It's called the Denos PCM6, and if you're suffering from chronic back pain or joint pain, then this is the answer. With over 40 years of proven clinical results, millions of satisfied customers worldwide, you have nothing to lose but the pain itself. Be pain-free today. Click on the link below or call Coach Jimmy K today at 503-395-4142 and tell him Dr. Steve sent you. You'll be glad you did. All right, this is just going to make your day. According to a recent party affiliation study by Gallup, there are actually less Democrats in the United States today than there were back in 2016. Back in November of 2016, 30% of Americans identified as Democrats. As of last week, in August of 2019, that number dropped to 27%. But there's another fascinating development in this. The same Gallup poll found that Republicans have actually increased in their number since Trump's election. Back in November of 2016, 27% of Americans identified as Republicans. Today, that number's jumped to 29%. So there are now more Republicans than Democrats, which is actually pretty rare. Gallup studies link up the ratio of Democrats to Republicans over the years. Generally, Republicans are trailing Democrats by at least a few percentage points. Now it appears to have reversed. And we're now officially less Democrats today than there were when Donald Trump was elected in 2016. Now, this latest poll by Gallup mirrors another study that they did a few months back, where they found that the number of states where liberals outnumber conservatives has actually dropped more than 30%. So that as we stand, there are now only 6 states where self-identified liberals outnumber conservatives. So that would be rather predictably Massachusetts, Hawaii, Vermont, Washington State, New York, and New Hampshire. According to Gallup, every other state in the United States, for the exception of California, where technically conservatives and liberals are tied, they're split 29 to 29%. In every other state, the 43 other states in this country, conservatives lead. In fact, it gets even better. According to Gallup, in 25 states, that's half the states in the union, the conservative advantage is significantly higher than the national average, including 19 states in which conservatives outnumber liberals by over 20 percentage points. It gets even better. Very similar to these latest polls showing that the Democrats are losing their percentage of voters, right, to Republicans. That number, 6 states in which more residents identify as liberal than as conservative, is actually down from the 2017 total, which was 9. So liberal-dominated states have actually dropped by 30% since 2017. So what's going on here? Why are we seeing this shrinkage among liberal Democrats and this surge among conservative Republicans? I think there are at least 2 reasons here. First and foremost, I think this is evidence that Trump's strategy to make the squad the face of the Democratic Party is working, okay? His strategy since the summer of making the most radical left-wing figures the new standard bearers of the Democratic Party is having the intended effect, which involves alienating 2 voting demographics, white men and Jewish voters, okay? So liberals like Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Elizabeth Warren are actively alienating white men by demonizing white men for any and all problems in our world. And they're alienating Jewish voters over their incessant hatred for all things Israel. So I do think this latest round of polling from Gallup demonstrates the political brilliance of Trump in his deliberate attempt to chip away at the Democratic voting base by making the squad the new face of the Democratic Party. That's the first thing. But I do think, secondly, there's something much deeper going on, much more long-term going on. We've talked about this on many, many videos here on this channel. And this long-term trend involves the changing demographics that's been going on in our nation. It's one that is disproportionately benefiting conservatives. Scholars such as the University of London demographer Eric Kaufman have been arguing for some time now that we are, in fact, in the midst of what he calls a demographic revolution, where religious conservatives and traditionalists are on course, and these are Eric Kaufman's words, they're on course to, quote, take over the world, close quote. And this, of course, is because there's a significant demographic deficit between secularists and conservative religionists, right? We just talked about this over the weekend, right? In our video on NBC declaring that heterosexuality is oppressive to women and is not working anymore. When all is said and done, conservative religionists are having children while secular globalists aren't. Conservatives are having children and liberals aren't. It's really that simple. Basically, all boils down to that. The demography consistently shows about a 30% fertility edge among conservative religionists, and Kaufman notes interestingly that it's predominantly Christian in nature, conservative Christians and Mormons who are having lots of kids. Islamists, interestingly enough, not so much, okay? That's something to remember here. There's been a real plunge in Muslim birth rates, generally speaking, over the last few years, which is quite significant. But now, conservative religious, mainly conservative Christians, have a 30% fertility edge over their secular liberal counterparts. And Kaufman notes that that edge becomes nothing short of overwhelming given the time, given enough time. So, for example, with that 30% fertility differential, 50-50 population, a population split evenly between conservatives and secular liberals, would change to a 60-40 split in a single generation, of course, favoring the conservative. In 2 generations, that split becomes 75-25. And in a matter of just 200 years, 10 generations, it becomes 99-1. That's how generationally significant a 30% fertility edge is. Moreover, we have data that shows that the more conservative the family, the higher the retention rate for the kids when they become adults. The more conservative the family, the more likely the children will retain that conservatism when they become adults. And the more conservative the family, the more children they're having. So it's a fascinating reciprocal relationship there. In fact, we actually have statistics that suggest that liberal Christians are far more likely to convert and become conservative Christians than the other way around, about something like a 21% to 15% differential. Sociologist Rodney Stark has documented that. And we're already seeing the political effects of this. So, for example, we have data that shows now that Trump won in states that have a 12% higher fertility than in states that voted for Hillary Clinton. As a matter of fact, the demographer Philip Longman has long argued that this turn towards conservative values going on, not just in the United States, but throughout Europe and indeed Asia, South America, it's happening as a direct result of this dramatic demographic discrepancy between conservatives and liberals, right? We're seeing it manifest itself in Europe with the increasing rejection of the European Union. And this is because, Longman pointed this out, those Europeans who are most likely to identify themselves as world citizens, as globalists, pro-Brussels and the like, they're the least likely to have children. Longman cites demographic data that found that those with globalistic values, those who had a high enthusiasm for alternative lifestyles and a marked complacency towards our cultural traditions and customs, they were far less likely to get married, have kids, than those who exemplified more nationalist sentiments, such as a deep reverence for nation, culture, custom, and tradition. They were much more likely to have a family. And so what we're finding now is that how many children different people have and under what circumstances actually correlates very strongly, not only with their beliefs on a wide range of political and cultural attitudes, but also with the political success at the ballot box for those beliefs. So I think these recent Gallup polls showing Republicans now outnumbering Democrats on the one hand and conservative states growing while liberal states are shrinking on the other, I think we can at least intuitively connect that with both Trump's strategy to recast the Democratic Party as the party of the squad as well as the rising birth rates among conservative populations within the United States. And of course, if that's the case, then we ain't seen nothing yet. Bring on the new conservative age at 99-1. Now, before you go, I just put up an awesome video about Piers Morgan getting red-pilled. He's out there saying that the conservative rise that we're seeing all over the world is in direct response to the fact that liberals have become absolutely unbearable. It will make your day. So click on that thumbnail at the top left of the video, and I'll see you over there. God bless.